Hi Bobcats, this is Miss Lee, and today's video lesson is on proportions. Please make sure that you're taking good notes as you watch the video. Okay, a proportion is a mathematical equation, stating that two ratios or rates are equivalent. And of course, equivalent means equal, just like it sounds. So an example would be 2 to 5 is equivalent or equal to 6 to 15. How do we know that? Well, we can multiply 2 by a scale factor of 3 to make 6, and when we multiply 5 by the same scale factor, we get 15. That's one way. Another way is you could simplify the 6 into a 2 by dividing by 3. And you could do the same thing with the 15, divide it by 3, and you get the 5. These are equivalent. Same thing here. 12 to 24 is equivalent to 1 to 2. If you simplify, you get a 1 to 2 ratio. For the rates, $2 for 10 prints is equivalent to $6 for 30 prints. How do you know that? We can multiply by 3. Use a scale factor of 3 for both, and you get the $6 for 30 prints. So when two ratios or rates are proportional or equivalent, we can use these proportions to find missing values, and that's what we're going to be doing for this lesson. We're going to use a scale factor to keep the ratios or rates equivalent and to find missing values. And there's a couple of different ways to do this. Okay, the first way, strategy number 1, is we can use the scale factor between the ratios, going in between them. So in this example, we have the number of cups of rice is the top part of our ratio, the first part of our ratio, and the bottom, or second part, is the number of cups of water. So we have a 1 to 3 ratio, and then we have an 8 to 24 ratio. So the scale factor here is actually wrong. It should not be times 3. We would multiply times 8. 1 times 8 will give us 8, and when we multiply 3 times 8, that gives us the 24. This is going between the two different ratios, finding the scale factor between. And our strategy number 2, we're going to use a scale factor that goes within a ratio. So it's our same example. Well, no, it's a little bit different. Still rice to water, but it's the 1 to 3, and now we have a 10 to some missing number. Okay, so we can go within the ratio. I can go from my 1 to 3. I can turn 1 into a 3 by multiplying by 3. So I do the same thing to my 10. I multiply it by 3, and it's going to give me 30 cups of water. So this is where you find the ratio within, or the scale factor within a ratio. The first one is where you find it between. Sometimes it won't work between, but you can find the scale factor within. Sometimes you can't find the scale factor within, it only works between. So here we go. A factory produces 6 cars in 2 hours. At this rate, how many cars can it produce in 16 hours? Step number 1. You want to write your label ratio. A label ratio is where you're saying, okay, I'm comparing cars to hours. And in my ratios, the number of cars is going to come first. It's going to be in the top. And I'll put the number of hours on the bottom. That's your label ratio. You have to have labels with these proportions because it is so easy to get your numbers in the wrong place. Step 2, you're going to write the proportion using the given ratio and the new wanted ratio with the missing value. So we're given that it produces 6 cars in 2 hours. That's our given ratio. So on the car line, the top, I put my 6. The number of hours goes on the bottom, the 2. And a proportion means equivalent. So I write my equal sign. And then I'm going to set up my second ratio. My second ratio is where I change the amount. How are we changing our rate? Well, it wants us to change it to 16 hours. So that's going to go on the bottom with the hours. And we don't know the number of cars. That's what we want to find. So we're going to use, instead of using a question mark, we're going to use a little bit of algebra, and we're going to use a variable. A variable is a letter that is used to represent an unknown number or an unknown amount. We don't know how many cars for 16 hours. That's what we want to solve for. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the variable n for number. So we're solving for n. This is your proportion, label ratio, your given rate, and what you want the new ratio to be. And then third step is find your scale factor. Use the scale factor to solve for the missing value. Will you use the scale factor between or within the ratios? Okay, so I always start with going between the ratios. And you want to go from the known number to the unknown. Since our unknown is on the right side, we want to start on the left. And of course, we can't go from 6 to n because we don't know what n is, but we can go from 2 to 16. We're getting bigger. When you get bigger, that's always multiplication. We're multiplying it by 8. Use the same scale factor on the 6, and 6 times 8 is 48. So they can produce 48 cars in 16 hours. That's going between. Now let's go within the rate or ratio. So again, you have to go from the known to the unknown. So we're going to go, since our unknown is on the top, we're going to start at the bottom. Can't turn 16 to n, but we can turn 2 into a 3. How do you turn 2 into a 3? We're getting bigger. It's multiplication, and we would multiply 2 times 3. So we're going to do the same thing over here with the 16. Use the same scale factor. Multiply 16 times 3, and guess what? You get 48. So you could have solved it either way. You could have used the scale factor between the two rates or within. That was fun. Let's do some more. To make blueberry pies, Mindy needs 2 pounds of to make 5 blueberry pies, Mindy needs 2 pounds of blueberries. How many pounds of blueberries does she need to make 20 pies? All right, start with the label ratio. What are we comparing here? We're comparing pies and pounds of blueberries. Okay, it doesn't matter what you put first or second, but you need to write the labels. I'm going to start with pies and I'm going to put BBs for blueberries. Now the given ratio or rate is the full rate that they give you. They're telling us 5 pies for 2 pounds of blueberries. To make 5 pies, she needs 2 pounds of blueberries. That's our given ratio. 5 pies, so the 5 goes on the top because that's where the pies are at. And 2 pounds of blueberries, the 2 goes on the bottom because that's where the blueberries is at. Then we are doing a proportion, so write your equal sign and set up for the second rate. How are we changing it? What are they telling us to change? Well, they're saying change it to 20 pies. So the 20 for the pies is going to go up here. What we're missing, what we need to find, is how many pounds of blueberries. So this is going to be our variable n. This is what we're going to solve for. And now we're ready to use the scale factor. We have to go from our known to our unknown. The unknown is on the right, so we go from left to right. So we go from 5 to 20. We're getting bigger. We know we're multiplying. What can we multiply 5 by to make 20? A 4. Do the same scale factor down here. 2 times 4 is going to be 8. So she would need 8 pounds of blueberries. Let's check. That is correct. Now, could you have gone within the ratio? Our unknown is on the bottom, so could you have gone from 5 to 2? No. You only want to use a whole number scale factor, and you cannot divide 5 by any whole number to equal 2. So in this case, going within the rate doesn't work. You would only be able to go between. Sometimes you're going to need to simplify before you can find the scale factor. The Jelly Junior High School color is made by mixing red paint with yellow paint. The ratio of red to yellow is 8 to 10. How much yellow paint should be mixed with 20 ounces of red? Okay, so here we go. Label ratio. What are the two things we're comparing? We're comparing the red paint with the yellow paint. So set it up. I'm going to do red to yellow. You could do yellow to red, that's fine. But make sure you have the labels written. The given ratio is what they tell us. The ratio of red to yellow is 8 to 10. 8 is the red because it says red first. 10 is the yellow. Proportion means we have an equivalent ratio. Here's our second wanted ratio. How are we changing it? We're changing it to 20 reds. So the red is on the top, the 20 goes here. We need to find how much yellow. This is our unknown N. Okay, now we're ready to go. Our unknown is on the right, so we start on the left. 8 to 20. Nope, can't multiply 8 by any number to make 20. So let's go between. Our unknown is on the bottom, so we'll start at the top. 8 to 10. Can we do that? Is there a scale factor to multiply 8 by to make 10? Nope. So we're going to have to simplify first. And the easiest way to start simplifying is just to divide by 2. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Now can we turn 4 into 20? Yes. We can use a scale factor of times 5. Use the same scale factor with this 5. And 5 times 5 is 25. So how much yellow paint? 25 ounces. Okay, so there are 2 more examples here. What I'd like for you to do is to go ahead and pause the video and set up your own label ratios and proportions and see if you can solve these. Once you're done, come back and check your answer. Okay, let's see how you did. On the first example, our label ratio, we're comparing money with hours. So our given rate was $380 for 40 hours of work. Make sure you put the money on the top where you have your money label, or if your money label's on the bottom, put it on the bottom. Okay, and now you're ready to solve. Since our unknown is over on the right side, we're going to go left to right. We're getting smaller, but we cannot divide 40 by any number to make 6. But what we can do is we can divide 40 by 20 and 380 by 20. And when we do that, we get 2, which we can then multiply by 3 to make 6. 380 divided by 20 is 19. Multiply that by 3, you get $57. Check it. 57 is correct. And our second example, we're comparing miles and gallons. I wrote my label ratio with the miles first. You could have done gallons to miles, that's fine. Make sure that the 315 miles is on the same row as where you put your miles. So 350 miles to 12 gallons is the given rate. We're changing it, our rate, we want to make it 8 gallons. So we need to find how many miles he can drive on 8 gallons. Okay, so can I turn 12 into 8? No, you cannot. So we're going to have to simplify. I know I could turn 12 into a 4 and then turn the 4 into the 8. So I would do that by dividing by 3. And I see that I can also divide 315 by 3. So that's what I did. I simplified by dividing by 3. I got 105 to 4. Then I used the scale factor of times 2 to turn the 4 into an 8. You have to use the same scale factor for the other part of your ratio. So 105 times 2 is 210. So how many miles can be driven on 8 gallons? 210 miles, which is correct. If you got those correct, great job. If you did not, pause the video and check your work with this work. Compare it and see where you made your mistake. Okay, have a great day, Bobcats.